Weed Out, where we weed out the bullshit and talk about the nonsense in our backyard. I'm Spencer Fox Peterson, along with my co-host, Joanna May Booty.
Hi, everybody. It's good to be here. We have a
Yes,
very special guest.
yes,
I'm
we
excited.
do. Where, as you all know, with the Weed Out, we talk about organizing, union organizing, labor organizing, all the organizing. And today we have somebody who lives in Easthampton, friend of the show. Actually, full disclosure, went to high school with Joanna, so um, not a complete stranger, new to me. Nice to meet everybody here, everybody new listening potentially. Thank you for coming in. We're going to talk about organizing, some wins, some tragedies, and how to move forward and how to get to connected as a community. So as always, you can go to our website, www.theweedout.com. You can email us at theweedout@gmail.com with any tips or questions, anything that gets mentioned in the show. We try to be respondent. You can always hit us on all the social medias at theweedout413. And that's Instagram, TikTok, yada, 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 all the stuff. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest, Mona Shadi. Mona Shadi. Got my own head about that. It's good to have you on. Somebody from Easthampton, a tenant in Easthampton. And, basically, I would just like to welcome you and
Thank you.
tell us a little about yourself.
Thanks for having me on, guys. This is amazing. So my name is Mona Shadi. I live in Easthampton, and I am an organizer and a tenant. And at the moment, I am engaged in a campaign to mobilize Easthampton tenants and specifically my fellow neighbors who have our landlord in order to keep us housed as rent hikes have egregiously hit Pioneer Valley and hit Easthampton really, really hard. So I'm really excited to talk about that.
We're really happy you're here. Not for that reason, but but I've known you for I don't want to say how long. Everyone,
We're that
okay,
age.
we're that age. But I've known you for a really long time, and even if I hadn't, I would be so disgusted to hear what's going on. Just the things you've shared with your that are happening with your neighbors. And no human being should have to come home and get the letter that you're going to share. But I would love to hear about like what prompted you to do some of this organizing and what's happening with you and your neighbors.
Yeah, thank you. So I have two jobs. For part of the week, I look like this. I'm a wine rep. I get to be pretty, and the other part of the week, I look like Swamp Thing because I am an independent landscaper. So Swamp Thing me came home in August and found like a big packet on my door, and it basically was from my landlord and said that when my lease ended, it was going to go up almost $400, and I could pay the lease or I could leave. And there was a little freak out moment. But because I've organized in the area around, namely labor in Palestine, and this is why I think it's like for anyone listening, like if you're thinking about getting involved in your community, if you're thinking about getting into organization, do it. I automatically thought of some folks who I'd worked with who were in those intersections of like protecting tenants from evictions or foreclosures or this or that. So I was like, okay, you know what? I need resources and I need knowledge. And so I started reaching out to people, but in that moment, because I knew that there was someone I could ask, I took my letter and I started knocking on my neighbor's doors. Just went downstairs and just knocked, Dennis the Menace style, just like started knocking on people's doors. And some neighbors I was friendly with, others I really hadn't said much to except hi bye. And they were like, yeah. I was like, did you get a letter like this? And they were like, I did get a letter. Oh my gosh, yes. Or like, my raise happened earlier this year. I didn't know what to do, so I signed it. Like I have a child. And then what I did was I started to research the other properties my landlord owns. My landlord is Matthew Gall. He owns Pine Valley Realty, and he owns tens upon tens of he owns several apartment complexes from 12 to 33 units each. He owns homes, and he also is involved with several LLCs, right? His father, Bernard Gall, was sort of a big guy in Easthampton, like very well-known family, very involved family, right? So like the name Gall, people recognize it. And so I went on like the Easthampton registry. I was like, does he have these other complexes? And then after work, I was literally driving up and looking for the cigarette smokers, right? Just yelling out of my truck, like, excuse me, did your rent go up? I have the same landlord as you, and they were like, it sure as hell did. What do you got going on? I was like, do you want to exchange contact information? Like, there's actually like something we can do about this. And so pretty soon, like I had like a kind of a core group of neighbors, including one gentleman who used to be a union organizer. And we started to have know your rights trainings in our backyards. And it was like, bring a beer, bring a soda, just bring a chair. We're gonna bring this to you, right? And just asking, like, just spend an hour with an attorney or an organizer who knows their stuff. And we started learning that we in Massachusetts have a really robust set of rights in Massachusetts. Like, if there's a rent raise, you have the right to ask for a negotiation. I also got, like, guys, like I jump in anytime. I'm just giving you like the timeline until now, but let me know.
No, please, you're
No,
doing
this is
great.
great information.
Please.
Like you said, prior to pressing record, we were talking about how eviction is so stigmatized that it's nice to hear like what is this process. And I will share, I have been in the process of eviction before in the past in my 20s, and it's something that is super scary. And I also was surprised to see how many rights and how many things we could do to protect ourselves. So that is really good. But please share about that, because it's really important that people know that's available. When you're in that, like you said, mental space, it's really hard to know what to do.
Yeah, it is terror, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we started to do the Know Your Rights trainings, and we started building, and we also joined forces with other tenants in Easthampton who were fighting their corporate out of town landlords. So all of a sudden we have these neighbors who are like, okay, here's how you do a press conference. Okay, like here's how we got our folks together, and also like all of a sudden I had these women in my life who would just call me and be like, how are you? No, 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 no. I'm like, oh, I'm good. I'm doing that. She's like, I didn't ask what you were doing. I'm asking how you are. Like, I was there. Are you okay? Do you need anything? Which is just like, that's the remedy to that terror is humans, is people reaching out, and that comfort and that warmth and that knowing, right? And so after we learned our rights, one of the things we learned is, as a tenant in Massachusetts, when your landlord goes up on your rent, you have the right to ask for a negotiation. It doesn't mean they'll give it to you, but you have the right to ask for it. And so with my neighbors, Adams Street and Pleasant View, if you look it up, they've been in the news, they're brilliant. They were able to get their corporate landlords to the table. And these were folks who were based in South Carolina. The property manager was in Florida, and so it was like they were able to be like, this isn't right. You need to come to the table and we need to talk about this as adults. And so they were like, you need to formulate a letter, one that you can release to the press as well, and that is just honest about what's going on. So over 30 of us wrote 2 letters to our landlord being like, listen, we have a wonderful community here. We love living here. We love living together. We have a great thing going. Please come to the table and work this out. We know costs are going up. We go to the same grocery stores. We see those prices. We go to the gas station. We see those prices. We understand you own a lot of properties and that you're feeling pressure too. So let's all work this out together, in a way that all of us will find sustainable. And he said no. So with my neighbor and I, who is almost 80, and he was part of the civil rights movement. He's a union activist. His rent went up $400.
And that's monthly. That's
monthly.
Not per year. I just wanted to point that out for the listeners. Monthly.
Yeah. He also should be the recipient of Neighbor of the Year award because he is the loveliest man. But he and I, got to talking, and we were like, we're going to take a stand. We're going to keep paying our regular rent until our landlord comes to the table. And so he and I, come October when our leases were up, sent in our checks and we're like, here's our rent. please talk to us, please. You know, he and I are now being evicted, and for it's a no fault eviction, right? So the only thing that we haven't done, we haven't trashed the place, we haven't broken, we haven't damaged, we haven't, anything like that. We haven't been sending in the money that our landlord would like. And so December 22nd is our mediation date. So when you get evicted, it can take months. And you first have a mediation date, and it's you and your landlord and your councils, and you sit down, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, we still want a negotiated rent raise if we have a rent raise, and our landlord will probably say, I don't agree to that, and that's going to be over, and then the like court stuff really begins next year. But we figured, we don't have children. We are in the situations that we're at, which is not good. But we are going to take this step to show, like, all that we're asking for as tenants, and we're not squatting, is a conversation. And so he said no to our letter. He began eviction proceedings against us. And so now what we're doing, and I'm so appreciative you guys let me come on to talk about this, is we've rolled out a public campaign, and we're beginning with a community letter. So if he doesn't want to listen to his tenants, okay, what about the community? What about, these folks? And so we have a letter, and I can talk to folks about how to get that letter. And what we want to do is we're giving ourselves a few weeks, and we want to take these letters to his office in Easthampton, and we want to hand deliver, I'm hoping, hundreds of letters, and it's written out so people can just like sign their name. Some people have added additional messages, but what each letter signifies is one more neighbor of ours that knows what's going on and that agrees with the tenants that he should be talking to us, and that we can work this out together. So yeah, we're really excited about it. And what it does is it brings people in. It's a tactile thing that we can bring him. And hopefully it helps us build momentum, not just around like us with Pine Valley Realty, because in our meetings now we have other folks showing up from different landlords going, so we have a problem, or I'm really concerned, or I don't know what our rights are. Is this okay? We want to basically show other landlords in Easthampton, like, the way forward, if you want to be a landlord, is to treat your tenants with dignity and respect, right? And equality. And if you come to the table, you will find people who are so willing to work with you on this stuff. But if you want to just tell people, here, either pay this or go, we're going to organize.
Yeah, it's bad faith. It's not a good faith bargaining at all. They're not doing anything in good faith. So,
and it's across the board. Some people got their rents raised $200, $250. Other people got their rents raised $550. Some people didn't get their rents raised. And so it's all over the board. And so
that's what I was going to ask. I was going to say, like, is there any formula, or was it the same for everyone? So
no, not that we can tell.
Okay. That's very weird.
I would like to just, for the audience and myself, what is this character's name again? Just
his name is Matthew Gall. His last name is Gawle. Okay. Excuse me. His father was Bernard. And they are a big time local family. They definitely have roots in Easthampton. And so I've spoken with city councilors. I spoke to the Salem Derby, who's now our mayor, and I said, we all as tenants really appreciate the sentiment behind the out of town corporate landlords that are like buying up stuff, the tech bros, whatever. And I was like, but what happens when it's not an out of town corporate investment firm? What happens when it's a family that has real roots here? Like basically acting, not even coming to the table when some of these investment firm guys have come to the table. And so it's worrisome. And we figure the only thing to do is to go to the community.
They believe they can act with impunity. We have a similar issue with, it's so easy for the elected officials. Like, I'm in Holyoke. They'll let you bash on the out of town landlords. They'll allow it, but not our local guys. And even the fucking some of the tenants will even boot like the owners, the local owners, and some of them aren't, whatever. But like doing the bare minimum is not worth getting any sort of praise or acknowledgement. That's my opinion. Yeah, do I get a pat on the back for doing the job that I agreed to get paid to do? Like what? No, it's just you got paid. That's the deal. But yeah, these people are deluded. These landlords, they, I mean, feudalism never fucking ended. We just
I say
rebranded
that
it.
all the time. This is
Yeah.
feudalism
No.
with Wi-Fi. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, no. I mean, my whole deal has
It's
always
so
been that.
upsetting.
And it's like he didn't even build the empire, he inherited it from daddy. And I'm gonna just speak directly to Matt, because somebody like Matt might actually listen. Like I make it my life's mission to talk to white men with the same fervor they like to talk to other people, and it's hilarious. But to Matty, buddy, it's a lot easier to just talk it out and come to a a gentle person's agreement, especially when there's mounting numbers staring at you. Having managed people and failed at managing, middle managing rather, when you lose the group, you can't manage no more. I learned it. You don't want to. None of my money was tied into it, so yeah, I don't know what else to tell you, man. Like you're gonna lose your money, and that's all that really matters. But it is pathetic that you're picking on, two single income people to make an example. One person, somebody you're supposed to respect, an old man veteran. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, my neighbor isn't the veteran. That's
oh, I'm sorry.
another
So how
gentleman.
many
But
are
an
involved
an older
then?
man, you're not supposed to disrespect like that.
Right.
That's 101 in the man code. Um, uh, Loser. This is loser mentality. And
Yeah.
landlords, they act with impunity, act like little feudal lords. It never ended. We have Eric Sewer in Holyoke. So
Oh,
I mean, you have him in Easthampton too. He's fucking everywhere. And that's kind of the problem. And nobody can ever serve him papers because
I rented from him once in Northampton.
yeah, he squats places in his own, so nobody can ever find him, so you can never serve him. There's
All
so
these
many
shell
lawsuits.
companies he has,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah,
he's a
he's shady.
piece of shit. And I'm sure this Matthew character would love to pick Eric's brain because he's going down that route of just being an absolute shithead and being okay with pissing off a bunch of people, which is like, I don't know. I don't know if that's ever a good idea, especially when your
Well,
dad, your precious daddy built all this good name and you're shitting on it.
yeah, what good is your name if this is how you'd act to the people in your community that literally are paying your bills for you by giving you rent? And is he only coming after you and the other gentleman you mentioned, Mona, or is it a larger group?
At the moment, because and the thing is, we haven't been able to go to all of his complexes.
Okay.
Because for me, I have the two jobs. We're building this union, um, and now with the eviction, right? And also like in building the union and building with your neighbors, it's you have to work with people who are scared, right?
Yeah.
So like as we don't know if there are more evictions, we like part of our outreach now is getting
Okay.
teams
Yeah, to
to
find
start
out.
going to the other places to go door to door. I managed to go to what was it, 6 of his complexes and speak to people. And so now we have like at regular meetings, we have this really great group of about 12 neighbors. Most of them have our landlord, but there's other folks too. And we're just now, it's like you have to build the tracks as you're driving the train as well. And so, with a lot of folks who are new to organizing, they don't necessarily know how to do this, or they may have some anxieties about like knocking on people's door. And one of the things that, and I swear this is by design, when we were kids, we were in and out of each other's houses. People were on each other's porches. People would just come by, like just walk into your house, like, and just like, I was in the neighborhood, like, oh my God, before I went home, I had to tell you something. You remember that lady at work I was telling you about? Okay, this is gonna make it quick, and then they're like having dinner, and it was just like, and I
Too
blame
true.
like the true crime industry, like unsolved
Oh my
mysteries and
gosh,
stuff,
yes.
where we now think everybody outside our window is going to kill us. And so even with me like knocking on people's doors, like I felt like the FBI, where I'm just like, I'm trying to ask if you're okay.
So this whole podcast started, well, not started, but was inspired because Joanna and I really bonded over like how insidious propaganda is in everything. And I think one of the first conversations we had online, like we're talking about food and beer and stuff, it was very light. And then I think the first thing is just like all these fucking true crime people, man, like what the fuck is wrong with them?
Well,
You're
and it
more
makes
likely
us
to get
scared. Yeah.
harmed by an uncle. Like, what are we talking about? Because again, people like Joanna and I come from places that aren't great, aren't perfect, and also luckily maybe she and I both weren't sheltered and were told the truth by somebody. Like, actually, it's not the boogeyman, it's fucking creepy neighbor Jeff. Or
Yeah.
we'll name him Matt today. Creepy neighbor Matt. That's
And I mean,
that's the honorary nickname today.
And to Mona's point, I really do feel growing up in the area we grew up in, Western Mass, especially Pittsfield. Like even when I drive back there now, I become a different person where I will just yell out the window at someone like, "Hey!" Or like, "Hey!" If you see someone you know. Like it was a very tight knit community in that respect, and I was raised to not fear other people. Why would we fear each other? And
Also,
why wouldn't
ring
we want to
camera,
have community? Right.
ring camera, and the social concept of texting before you arrive.
Yeah, that's a
I'm
millennial.
not saying I get it. Like I kind of like parts of it. Not gonna lie. Like I do like getting a little bit of heads up, but I'm also grew up in an era where people would just knock on your door, so it wouldn't freak me
Right.
out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This is going to be really dark and just like trigger warning for your audience, like harm to children, right? Joanna, I don't know if you remember, but like, so I immigrated to Pittsfield in 1989 from Egypt, right? We lived in Allman, and then Allman, we came to Pittsfield the same
I
year
do
GE pulled
remember.
out. And when we were in Pittsfield, I was a little one, I was 5, and there was a man killing children.
And bad, worse. Yes, it was terrible.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
It was a very scary time.
it was horrible, right?
Yeah.
And what I remember, and I literally said this to people at their doors. I was like, okay, when I was growing up, like, there was someone walking around killing children.
Cop? Was it a cop?
No.
He's
He's a national child predator and serial killer.
he's locked up outside in Eastern Mass forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The brother of his one of his victims, Jimmy Bernardo, and rest in peace. He was so young. His brother recently did a podcast actually, and I hadn't seen him speak in years. And it was really sweet to see that. I almost cried thinking about it because even you knew Becky, I'm sure, who there were so many people involved that were close to the community, and it was really scary, and it wasn't the only thing going on at that time. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but it was
no.
Nationally, one of those really scary, horrible things that I think set a tone for our community too.
It did, and I remember, like, especially looking back now, I can see the way that adults tried to address this. And one thing at our elementary school that the teachers would always reinforce was like, strength in numbers. It's always good to like have friends with you. And if you're walking to school or you're walking alone, make sure you have a buddy or make sure you have a group. And if you see a kid walking alone, invite him over to your group because it's always more fun that way. You know, they were trying to, but the thing is, while this horror show was happening, my friends and I were in the forest. We were in the brook. We were in the swamp. We were running out of in each other's houses, right? We'd be biking around all day. And in my neighborhood, there were no dads. There was one family that had like a mom, dad, and kids and a dog. One. And everyone else's dad was dead or had abandoned them. And so it was single moms and grandparents, and half the moms were alcoholics. But what would happen was everyone was on each other's porches especially in the warmer months. And so, you know, if someone's mom had too much to drink, there was always someone to help her in the house. And there was always someone to make sure the kids had dinner. So the kids would come over to your place or, you know, this or that.
Yeah,
and
had
there
each
was always
other's
an
back.
adult.
Yeah,
If
you
someone
always
fell
took
off
care
their
of
bike
each
and got
other.
hurt.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I have the warmest, fondest memories of that time, even though like just it was terrifying, right? And I tell my neighbors, I was like, if me and my friends who were little, like 6, 7 years old, could be fearless because we had it instilled in us, nothing can happen to us as long as we're together. How, as neighbors, are we not getting together to try to do something? And I told them, I was like, we might get kicked out. I might get evicted. I might get thrown out of there, whatever. We're going to do it without a fight. We're going to do it without trying. I would rather have tried than just retreat, right? I would rather have tried to like actually like go up to Matthew and be like, why won't you talk to us, Matthew? Right? We're not here. We're not asking for a free place to live. We're not asking for a pound of flesh. We're not asking for your firstborn. We want to live here. We're priced out of the state. There's nowhere to go. And we understand you have costs. So what can we work out together? Let's do this as a community, instead of just telling us to take our shit and get, right? And so, yeah, I think about like the children that we were and how it was like, as long as we're together, nothing can happen to us. And how like just bloody true that is.
It is. And you just made me feel so emotional because I remember it, but I could never have put it into words like that. So thank you very much, because I will say anyone from back home who's a real person that I still talk to, so many of us make me proud, and we all were that person. No man behind, and I mean like no person left behind. You always have each other's back no matter what. And I think, like you said, it's like a Goonies thing a little bit, and I think we all need to be a little bit more together as a community overall. And this podcast has always talked about that and how important it is to get involved with your community and with organizing. And I think it's so important that you're tackling this issue, because just to add on, and even in my town in the last 3 years, elderly people have told me that new landlords have bought their homes and then their rents raised $500 a month and they can't do anything and then they have to leave. So I just think it's more pervasive even than, so I think the outreach you're doing, you will find people, because I feel, and I'm in Franklin County, as for everyone who knows, and I do spend time in the Berkshires. I think it's going to be a lot more people that should probably get on board and get the information and get the help from you, rather than, you said, not putting up that fight, so that we can try to stop things from accelerating so quickly and the greed to continue to. The greed is really what's, I feel, driving these things, unless they can sit down with us and explain what else it is. For me, it's really hard.
I would just like to add, you said, both of you said, nobody, we're stronger numbers, nobody left behind. I would like to say some men TM.
Left behind.
Capital M men TM. We can leave some of them behind.
Okay, you're fine. You can add PS. Some
yeah. Like they like Matthew. If you don't get this right, I'm cool with you being left behind. Like I don't give a shit. Bye. Like
and
you're so willing to kick people out of. You're so willing to kick people out. I'm willing for you to not be part of the community anymore. And that wouldn't be fun for you. That's not fun for anybody. Imagine being a pariah in the place you live. Bummer.
And when he to that too, Spencer, like when he wrote us the letter back, we all got a letter after we'd asked for those negotiations, right? And he said, like something along the line, I'm paraphrasing, something along the lines of like, if I can't like meet these rising costs and like maintenance and water and things like this, he's like, I might have to sell to a corporate landlord. And then in the letter it said, corporate landlords are ruining the community. And it's like, I absolutely agree with you. So don't act like one. Or actually, in this case, please act like one and come to the table.
Also,
they're coming to the table,
the same bullshit the Democrats have been pulling on us for 30, 40 years. Well, vote for us or you get the hose.
Well, yeah, he's like threatening. He's threatening you too. He's like, or I'm just gonna sell to make it worse. It's like, okay, you're just veiled threats too. Like,
also, just like,
weird. Right,
dude, it would be so much smarter to only talk through your lawyer. That would be my other advice.
For him, yeah.
Only talk through your lawyer. What the fuck are you doing? Only lawyers should be talking for you when you hire managing this much. CEO. Day one shit.
Don't give him any tips, Ben.
Well, he has a lawyer that we're going to meet in December.
March.
And also, I'm not going to say like
Right.
get into organizing. You'll get like you get free whatever.
Yeah.
We have a lawyer
Okay, good.
who is a housing lawyer. He's a wonderful guy. He's
And
been
how'd
doing
you
this.
find your lawyer? Just so people know, I usually put people to community legal aid, but I know that's not the only way. So please let us know.
Yeah. So when I contacted that organization that does like housing advocacy, he started that organization, and I had actually met him before doing some organizing stuff, and so he was like, "Hey, you and your neighbor," he was like if you want, I can represent you, and the arrangement that we have absolutely basically works for me, where I was like, I actually can't say no.
Right.
And he was like, my question to you is, would you be comfortable being basically the amoeba in the petri dish? Like we can build around what's happening to you, but you have to be comfortable basically being the poster child that's being evicted. And I was like, yeah, I am, so let's go. And he's just a great guy who's like, and what he said too, the last 2 years of doing housing organizing, he was like, this is the first time in a couple of years where a landlord has rolled out evictions. And he's like, this is the first time in 2 years where a landlord hasn't come to the table yet. And he was like, I really, he can change his mind anytime. He can come to the table anytime. And we're still hoping he does that.
Yeah, I hope so. Right.
I really, where he just goes, you know what? Fine. Like, let's
Right.
talk. All right. I'll hear you out. Okay, great. Let's do that.
I would love that too. So then we could have an episode about corporate landlords.
Rather than a local
That
one.
I would love to not
Yes.
talk about you right now and talk
Right.
about bigger bads. So start
Yeah.
acting responsible.
or
Before
to
you
have a
perform,
show.
you make it a lot harder. It costs a lot of money to pay lawyers. Just
It
saying.
does.
And I
Or
would
to
love
have
if
a
we could. Yes, go ahead, Mona.
Oh, I was
No,
just
go
gonna say,
ahead.
or to have a show where I come back and be like, hey, organizing can get your landlord to come to the table and act in good faith and work it out with you. Go ahead, Joanna,
Yes.
go ahead.
I was going to say the same thing pretty much. It's like I would love for him to set the example for what it looks like to be someone in a position like this where people are asking for you as a professional adult to come sit down with them and talk about things. If you're not doing something wrong and your budget and your books tell a story and they have a narrative, all you need to do is look at those things and sit down and talk to your community members. And if your family name is at all important to you, then that's another reason to come and sit down. I mean, I personally don't have that problem. I don't really worry about those things, but I'm guessing Matthew, who has a number of properties and family, I don't know, there's probably things that he would like to keep a good reputation about. And I don't think this is the way you do that. I think pushing people to the limit where they feel they have to involve lawyers and start organizing when they really just ask to sit down with you, you're no better than you basically have become a corporate overlord.
This is the
You're
first
acting
time.
in that way.
This is the first time I've heard of Matt, and I don't have a favorable view of his reputation.
Same.
And I have that because I trust Joanna's judgment almost as much as I trust my own. I might even trust Joanna more because, I'm not too bright sometimes.
You're fine.
And your friends can sometimes see things you can't. But regardless, so I trust Mona a little bit based on my mutual respect for Joanna. And, your reputation has been tarnished either way. And, after you sort this out with your tenants, you could always make reparations to the community by, like, I don't know, donating to the public library or something,
I just really hope that that when we do have an update,
what the
because
Rothschilds
we're
did and all
yeah.
them. Like when they were in hot water, they built fucking Grand Central Station. And now people
Yeah.
Be
don't
like
look
that.
at them. They're like, yeah, be more like those ghouls. Even they realize at the end, uh-oh, these people might revolt. And nobody wants that. Who wants that? We all want to live in peace and harmony.
So that's what I'm asking. Like, I think I would hope that he would want to sit down. And if he doesn't, Mona, like, if we don't have you back on and the conversation is he sat down. So you said that on the 18th is when you mediate. Will he be forced to sit down with the lawyers then? Or at least his lawyer would have to sit down?
So it's December 22nd
22nd, excuse
is me
me.
and my
Okay.
neighbor's date. And so basically like we're all gonna sit down and we're gonna say, we're like we're going to continue to pay our normal rent until we can negotiate that, some things with you. And I don't know what he'll do, but he very well may just say that's not acceptable to me. I require that rent, or I need you to vacate the premises. And that's going to be the end of the mediation meeting. It's basically just like, when you're facing eviction, it's a way for like, okay, the two parties did come and we know that they heard each other out. And so like both sides absolutely know where the other one stands. And if there's no agreement, then it heads to court. And so that's going to be next year.
Okay.
In the meantime, we are going to wonderful people like you both, and to just bring this to the attention of folks. We have our community letter. If anyone, so we want tactile letters, and so what we're doing is, if anyone listening would like a letter, or you would like a bunch of letters, um, and you want to sign them and give them like around to your nears and dears to sign, like you can go to, we have a or excuse me, an email, easthampton tenants union at gmail.com. Get in touch with us. We'll get you those letters and we'll coordinate getting those letters from you. And you can also, what we're also going to be doing is, as we have public facing events, so we're going to have like, press conferences, there's going to be ways for the public to participate. You'll just get a little ping. We're not going to spam you. We know emails. But we want to bring people in. And also we have our meetings, East Hampton City Hall, top floor behind City Council, every Thursday, 5 to 6:30. And we've actually had homeowners and landlords show up.
Great.
And had some amazing conversations with people. And I also wanted to make sure if it's okay to mention this, like in our outreach, we've also started tabling. We're going to be tabling around town.
Great.
Homeowners have said things like, well, if you don't pay your rent, that means higher property taxes for me and I'm stretched thin. And our response has been like, listen, 3 words, big beautiful bill, which is the largest wealth transfer from the working class, the working poor, to the elites in generations. This trickle down, 50, 60 years of trickle down economics has finally come home to roost. And what I've been telling people is, us as renters have more rights in Massachusetts than homeowners, and there's more foreclosures than evictions, right? My monthly payment is called rent. A homeowner's monthly payment is called a mortgage. They pay a bank. I pay a guy. We have far more in common, and actually need to band together and to have these conversations about our intersections, because the powers that be have us exactly where they want us, going, well, if you don't do it, I have to do it. Oh, well, why are you asking me? I'm worse than you. Like, you should be right. And we're like at each other's throats and we're not looking up.
And this is why it's the trans immigrant.
Yeah.
Duh, guys.
Yeah. Obviously.
And then this is not to say, like, people who say, like, I have empathy for people who are just frustrated and they don't understand it's complicated. There's a lot of shit, like, we were talking offline about having hope, and it's like, I say crazy things like abolish the police immediately, let's rip the bricks out of the prisons, let's let them out, we'll figure it out. Like, not because I have all the ideas, because I have so much faith that there are mental health experts. There are people that have been thinking outside the box on this stuff. I know, because I know people in my own personal life that are in all this stuff tangentially, and they would have awesome ideas or ways to implement, and they're a better communicator than me, or they're maybe not a great communicator. I'm better than them. Like, all these things can happen. It's very possible, but it is a matter of, you got to build trust with everybody. Like, you got to get to know your neighbors, literally. And hey, it's hard. It's scary. It is.
It is.
And
I went to the labor strike conference at UMass in the spring, which was wonderful. And there was an organizer, and she said something I wrote down twice in my notebook. And she said, you can only organize at the speed of trust.
Exactly.
You can only do it. And yeah, they also don't want us talking to our neighbors. It's like, it's the polite thing to do is just mind your business, keep a low profile, keep your head down, don't be weird.
And that's not new. That's pure New England shit. That's been going on forever. You know what I mean? It's like,
it's true. It's true. That is the
women had a
messaging.
whisper network. They called it gossiping, so they outlawed gossiping. You know what I mean? Like, all these things I grew up Catholic, so like I'm deep in the lore, and it's like it's just morphed into different things. And like you
Yeah.
see like conservative Gen Zs like talking about like, you can't seem too interested, you can't seem too earnest, and it's just like what the fuck is happening? Like why are we doing this? They be humble, like, but seem disinterested, and it's like no wonder these people are like having chat GPT psychosis and God psychosis and religion spiking very drastically in some places and other people are just fucking leaving. um I don't know, and it's because of the stress that we're all put under with
Yes.
what is our housing situation going to be next month, what is
Yeah.
and is there going to be an armed man with a gun that I pay 40% of our taxes to have a steady job that any time now that can be used against you, and if you're obstinate enough they'll put you in a cage,
Yeah. And
And if
that's
and we pay
yeah.
handsomely for the cage.
And I think recently, like it's become more and more widespread. So I think like the SNAP benefits thing was a big issue for everyone. I don't know how people cannot feel interested. I do understand that it's really hard, and like I think what you're seeing, Spence, is true, and it's really there. And I think it comes from a place of fear, not understanding. Empathy is not really being taught at all to people. Um, and I would hope that your point, Mona, to homeowners, I have been saying this since we started the podcast. We are all together in the same boat unless we are making over more than $1 million at this point in Massachusetts. Like
Oh,
you're in
you
the
gotta
same boat
be.
as me.
You. I mean, unless you're entrenched money like the Kennedys, I don't even think you're safe.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Like
So
I
I
don't
just
even know.
feel that, well, right.
You
And
have
I
to
feel,
also have political capital. You can't just have a bunch of money or a bunch of assets because, as we've seen, the powers of the government can be used to take your shit.
well, yes. And I think that homeowners
So
need to be
even if you
more
have a whole bunch
aware.
of assets, they could still fucking find a way to take it from you.
and it's also,
And
I
I,
mean, this is like down the line, but it's like how messed up is it that our schools are funded through property tax? We're talking about feudalism. So depending on where your baby goes or where you can, like, we have a neighbor who has a child in the Easthampton schools, and their child has very acute needs, and they have moved around and they've done this and da 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 da, da, and now their baby is thriving. The teachers work with their child. Their kid has friends. When their kid comes home, all they talk about is school, and they want to be back at school. And this neighbor was like, I finally found a place where my baby is happy, and when they go to school, all these kids are happy to see them, and he's popular and this and that, and now I have to go because I already work two jobs and I can't afford this new rent. Am I really going to pry my child from this amazing place where he's wanted? And it's just like, I've literally had people cry in their doorways, like talking to me. And it's like,
yeah,
then you have homeowners who are like, hey, I really am sorry, but like, it's so important to me that the schools are funded and the property taxes are like, it's got to come somewhere, right? And it's like, yes, you're right. And why is it each other?
right.
Why is it why does one of us
Why?
have to be sacrificed?
I
We have
agree.
all this money, and our kids, like, a school should literally, like, barely sniffle. And it's like the country, the state, the whatever should be like, oh my gosh, what do you need, children? Oh,
Exactly.
are you okay? What do you want? Can we do anything? Just checking. Oh,
I
okay,
know
well,
where
I'll be back. Like,
you guys know in Arrested Development, there's always money in the banana stand.
Yeah, I say that. I say that to
So
you like every day.
yeah, I know Joanna knows, but just for the audience, there's a joke as always made because rich people, right? But I have a way of using that from a working class perspective. There's always money in the banana stand, and every town has one. It's called the local car dealership owner. In my town, it's Gary Rome. He's my number one op. I think car dealership owners usually they're the richest person in a community, and
yeah,
they're usually one funding the police benevolent associations, which are money laundering fronts, and then they also are funding the Chamber of Commerce heavily, but they're also they're involved in the petroleum lobbies, they're involved in rubber lobby, all the extractive things now, cobalt and lithium, all that stuff. Whether they realize they're little kingpins or not, they don't, because usually they're inherited little fucking weasels. I'm talking to Gary Rome, and I'm also talking to Carly Cosenzi in Northampton, and just every town. There's one in every town. So I challenge everybody in the audience, if you have a number one op, it's going to be your local car dealership magnate. They're the devil. If there is a feudal lord, a nobleman, look no further. And out east, it's Ernie Bach Jr. Fuck that motherfucker. I'm honest. I have so much smoke for all these people. They're so evil. They're like how this whole system is held together, of like needing cars, needing oil, and then they isolate us. The car is very isolating to communities. You need to have the resources to have a car, upkeep a car. Serve, in the case of an accident or you don't have a car, you have other means. Dude, they're the root of so many of our issues. So if it's not the local landlord and you feel uncomfortable because, I know a landlord is a good guy. Have you ever met a car dealer that's a good guy?
I have. I hate because I don't even, when I go to get a car, it's the worst.
I'm just trying to give us all a common enemy. There's money in that banana stand. We go take his money.
Well, I've met
redistribute that to the community,
met
and that guy should be paying for schools. That motherfucker makes so much money off the community.
I don't disagree. I think my point
usually
is that
sells
it's the
shitty cars
people
like
at the top.
Hyundais or whatever. Sell shitty cars. People have shitty, unreliable cars, and they're stuck, whatever, paying out ass for the rest of their lives on a car that they will never pay off. And then, they should be paying for our fucking school.
I agree with your point. My point is, though, that every rich person, not just the goddamn car dealership guys, because they suck too, but all of the rich people that are getting away with not paying taxes are the problem. Yeah, so, like, absolutely. The burden of taxes, and Spence, I'm just giving you shit.
Oh, I know. I just it's partially like a joke, like a shtick, but it's also very real.
It is a joke between us. I'm letting the audience know it is.
No, it's real. Like, these people are ruining our communities.
Real, but they are.
But I think also Eric
overarching. Yes, overarching. I think these rich landlords, the landlord Matthew, is it Gall? Matthew Gall is So that family. There are people in the Berkshires that I won't name now because I know that back there people love me too, depending on what I'm saying about whoever and whatever. I think right now I would like to just say to the homeowners, renters, and everyone out there, like I've always said, we are more similar than different. We are all one accident away from needing each other or being without a home or without food or anything. So the connections, like Mona said, that we build or can build, and they are possible, are really important. And so, Mona, please elaborate more on anything that people. So we're going to share a newsletter. We're going to share an email address so that people can send a letter. Are there other groups? I know I've seen online that neighbor to neighbor, and there's this group out of Springfield working on housing. Like, do you know of any other housing groups in the Western Mass area that if you're not in Easthampton, maybe they could reach out to, or what, like, are there other people you're working with?
So we work with Snow, Springfield, No One Leaves. We do work with Mass Legal Aid. Another great group to follow is Western Mass Asylum Support.
Okay.
For migrants, they do amazing, just like working class and in solidarity. And also on Instagram, there's Northampton tenants who are absolutely incredible. We actually cross-pollinate, which is also really important. We made it a point to have our organizing meetings every week on different nights so that we can keep tabs on each other. And now what's really cool is, like, now that some things are up and going, we're able to show up for each other, even if it's just to, like, hold space, offer support, this or that, right? Like, the Berkshires is definitely a place that we want to reach out. Like, one of the tenants who is in the process of negotiating their 40% rent raise down to 7%. Okay. Right? And that includes people who already signed leases.
Wow. So they're going to go back for people. They're going to go
everything. And that's what we want.
That's from needed.
Like, anyone who signed those leases, that was coercion.
Yes.
When we get what we want, that means that our neighbors who already signed those leases have to get new leases with the lower rate. Nobody gets left behind here, right? Right.
You're including everybody. So you hope that they all join in. Exactly.
Even the people who are like, you know what, I wish you the best. I'm really scared. I can't be involved in this. It's like, okay, they're not involved. They're scared. They have their reasons. That doesn't mean that we can't carry them. Right. And maybe, you know, if we win, like, how amazing would that be for that person who was like, you know, I didn't get involved because I'd be afraid, but my neighbors like fought for me. So maybe, you know, I'm not going to be the one in the front with the bullhorn, but maybe I can go to a meeting, you know what I mean? Like this and that. But Hurricane Properties, who's in the process of negotiating with our neighbors in Easthampton that we're with, different fight, different landlord, but
Yeah.
same organizing. They own properties in Pittsfield, and
Okay.
it is so bad that a guy reached out to them and was telling them. And the thing is, Hurricane is playing ball with our neighbors in Easthampton because they got organized, they got in line, they got their messaging down, they got everything, and they were like, here's the line, and you get to decide if you cross it. You know where it is now. Where in Pittsfield, you know, for various reasons, folks, you know, folks have health issues, folks have other things going on, folks have never done this before, folks have, you know what I mean, precarity. And so they're still being treated terribly in Pittsfield because Pittsfield, you know, like it's a lot of it's broken, like
It
still,
is.
you know,
It's
a
got
lot
a
of it
lot
is
of
like
problems.
really still hurting.
Yeah.
And I say that with warmth and love.
Me too.
But like that's going to be, you know, another place. And what we're hoping, like in talking to Northampton folks and talking to Easthampton folks, there's I don't know where they're at right now, but there's another town that's entered the chat, just entered the chat, right? We would love to be like big siblings for other tenants in other towns who want to start mobilizing and organizing. Like you can come to us and we're going to take you under our wing, and like here are things that worked for us that may work for you. Here are things that mistakes we made that like maybe you should be aware of, like, you know, or like, oh, for this situation, have you thought of this? Maybe try this. You do you need help? And so like that's the nexus that I'm working with. And then also in Easthampton, folks who do a lot of Palestine work are like the cavalry's coming in there. We have folks from unions who are now starting to reach out and be like, hey, we, you know, for this event, like we'll try to send people. It'll be a work day. Can we at least give you a statement for someone to read? You know what I mean? Things like this, because we really want organized labor involved. And we want businesses involved. When I was tabling Saturday, I spoke to a woman. She was like, I own a business in Easthampton. And she was like, I'm very scared about housing. She was like, because if we talk about businesses, okay, you want a strong business community. Who's going to patronize those businesses? Who's going to work at those businesses? Right? Who, if you have
100%.
if all our money is going toward our housing, or the only people, and I said this during town council, I was like, we have to decide what we want Easthampton to look like. Is Easthampton going to be this wonderful town that's made of people who love living here? Or is it going to be that the people that live here have a certain bank account? Which one? Right?
So
And what does that mean for businesses? What does that mean for community? What does that mean for the fabric that keeps us together? And I think, you know, all this stuff can be like literally the reason that I'm here talking to you is because I got really scared and upset and I started knocking on my neighbors' doors. And I'm still reeling from the people that I've met and become my friends and really become my neighbors, like these wonderful people. Like it right here in my apartment downstairs is a man, across the way is a man, right? I have also said this before. I go to sleep completely like secure and safe and calm and everything, because God forbid something happens to me. I know that there are two men. There's actually a whole complex full of people, but right here, two men. I am one door knock away from a man that's going to take care of me and that is looking out for me and wants the best for me, because I know them, right? And that's why, you know, we work together. And, you know, with my neighbor downstairs, he's in a tougher spot than I am. He's almost 80. He can't just go out and get a job, right? He can't just, you know what I mean? And so like, he's almost my anchor, right? Because tomorrow I could be like, you know what? I'm just going to like figure it out. I'm going to get some roommates. I'm going to go. Sorry, bye. I don't want to leave him because he's been such a wonderful neighbor.
And
So
like you said, that's so sad. Like, how do we, as a society, how do we reckon with treating the elderly that way?
and you know, you like it flies in the face of all this shit where it's like, if you're a good person and you study hard in school and you apply yourself, you're gonna do fine. No, you're not. No, you're not. Right? Which one is it? You know, because we have some people in the highest echelons of power who did not work hard, did not study hard. They don't tell the truth. They're not, you know, I'm from the Arab world. Your name is your life, right? God forbid, like, your name is attached to something shameful or horrible or whatever. Like, oh my God, your name is currency, right? And for better or for worse, but like when it works well, when people trust you and they come to you, or like, you know, you heard like so and so was like, oh, we were talking about you and so said this about you, right? There's few things that's better than, it's the best thing since sliced bread, right? Like when people are like, that is a good family, that is a strong name, they're good people, you know.
I agree. And
Yeah, here in the West, we're very strict of that. And you know, like for example, I'm 3 generations in on both sides of my family being in America, and there is no cultural tie, let alone family tie. Like there's no cultural tie. Like I'm a smorgasbord of like things. I'm really an American. Like I like some Portuguese food. I like some Swedish food. Obviously, I love Irish food because I love boiled potatoes and meat. Like I do. I grew up on it and I had it made well. My dad was really into it. But it's just like I don't really have any of that. And that's the tragedy. That's like how white people in the West are victims. I'm not, you know, not victims, but how we're harmed.
Yeah.
You know, harmed. Your identity stolen from
it's
you.
like that
I'd even
individualistic
part of
thing.
me is like, I never even had it, so I guess I can make my peace with it and try to. But it's like I can't just like go up to an indigenous tribe and be like, "Can I be part of you guys? I don't got nothing." Like, you know, you can't just do that, right? Like, and I would never ever even think to do that. But it's like it is kind of a lonely place, but it is kind of the penance you get for having some privilege. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I have to, unfortunately, with my job, I have to deal with cops kind of regularly in what most people would consider really high dangerous situations on the side of the road where they have a gun and you don't. And because it's my job, it's a little less stressful because they're kind of treating you like a coworker. It's a little odd, it's strange, and I just keep my mouth shut and keep it moving. But you know, I interact with them once a quarter, you know, on the side of the highway. But you guys brought up earlier, like, okay, so Pittsfield's been in the throes of things. They haven't recovered since GE and all their bullshit and being kind of monsters and capital being drained from there and sold somewhere else. And you know, how do people going to make ends meet? You know, like you also just to bring it back to the small business person that you mentioned. I've had a conversation with an executive in the food industry where I was at like some thing. I'm just a driver, dude. I pick things up, I put things down. First of all, every executive at my company is always like, "Oh, you have a degree? What are you doing here?" And it's like we're the same age. And I'm like, "Dude, because I couldn't deal with you people.
That
Couldn't
mindset is so
fake it."
offensive to ask people though. Like
Oh,
it's
and they
just
say it
it's such
so
a classist,
cavalierly. So cavalier.
weird.
Like, why did you choose this? It's like because you guys are fucking assholes. Like, I went to high school, I went to a prep school, I went to college, I got the degree, I did the thing. I even tried working in offices. You're all fucking fake. Like, I didn't say this to him, but it's just like because you can't. Because if you be real with them, then you're a threat, and they shut down and they get weird, and then somehow or another, even though those guys has nothing to do with your employment, you're out of a job. For whatever reason, I was in this room with these people and they were talking about expanding their businesses to Western Mass, like the business I'm in. And they're like, "How?" And I'm like, well, there's nobody out here that has any extra money. You can barely find employment, let alone pay for housing and have enough money to go to a restaurant. So of course there's no restaurants thriving out here. Like, and then there's no good cooks out here because why would any cook move here if there's no work to be done? Or how does anybody learn, you know? And
I
it's just
can't say there's no good cooks in the Berkshires
no, there
mud.
is, but like
Don't make me fight you.
no, talking to these executives, it's like how come it's not like Boston? How come it's not concentrated? And you're like, dude, like what are you
Right,
talking about?
right.
Also, like,
Yeah.
and they're like, well, what does that have to do with anything? I was like, well, if there's no money there, if the median income is low and they can barely pay there's no reason to ever go to a restaurant. So you're shit out of luck. Your value added product, there's no place for it to go out here, unfortunately. Well, how do we do that? And I was like, well, you need with your money. I said this so bluntly to him. I was like, with your money, you should be talking to politicians about how to raise up the fucking working class in the Berkshires and Western Mass so there can actually
Pay us more.
a thriving
Fucking pay us
year-round
more.
economy, and
Yeah.
that's not reliant on polluting our rivers like we used to have to. There's got to be other ways we can do this, and not while not displacing people. Like a bunch of people displaced people in Holyoke, or bought second homes in Holyoke during the COVID thing, and they were just using it as like a hideaway from New York City, and now they just like have these houses and nobody's using them.
Right.
And it's
I
just,
read
you know,
something
all
in an
that aside, it's
economics
not
class.
economy, but it's just these people, and he was just like so shocked that I said, you got to lobby your politicians to make working class politics. How's that affect me? It's like, are you?
That's the problem.
And then I'm
That's
like,
the problem.
this is why I couldn't work with you, because even though I was trained just like you, learn how to talk like you, like I, you're maddening.
Yeah.
You're maddening. Like you don't make any fucking sense. Like talk about like capitalism being a stupid system. Like Jesus Christ.
When I was doing labor organizing, I was telling my coworkers, again, like one of the biggest obstacles to organizing is someone's fear. And that fear comes from a very real place. You know, it's trauma work. It's trauma work, right? And the federal minimum wage is $7.25.
It's disgusting. Everyone,
It,
that is
it
horrifying.
costs more
Hear
to
it
get a damn
again.
latte,
It's
right?
awful. Like when you say that out loud in the year of our Lord 2025, I feel sick. It makes me feel sick. And
There's people
I'm just
raising
gonna throw it
children.
out there too. Like people, yes, people
How?
raising
How
children,
do
and
people
there
raise
are,
kids?
how do you do it? And then there are unions right now. I'm in one where we've been in over 500 days of bargaining, and it's coming from everywhere. As I'm hearing this, it's making me think more, because we're being told by all of the rich people at every level, at higher ups at every level are the problem. And we're being told, for some reason, all of us collectively, you being told, oh, you have to absorb this with the landlord's costs with this $500 increase, or I have to not get a raise. They're going to try to tie COLA to performance at UMass potentially. It's like, what are you talking about?
For those at
That's
home, cola is cost of
COLA,
living.
it's cost of living, and that's 3%. And I just feel like, okay, so there's movement, and it's happening at the federal level, obviously, with the shutdown and SNAP. There's movement, and we've seen it. All of us have seen it before. It's austerity measures, but it's extreme now. And we've talked about the organizing you do with for Palestine, and the organizing we do in other ways, like myself, even food bank just for local people. Getting involved in your local government, because sometimes there are things you can do. I feel that this is the time where it is best for us to try to band together and do these things, because if we don't gain some sort of, like you said, ability to negotiate what is happening, like it will just keep being pushed farther and farther. They're
And build
going to
power.
see, yes, they're going to see, like, you don't care, you let this happen and you're not fighting back. And so that will just continue to get worse. And I think, thank you, Mona, for standing up in a very scary situation, and to your adorable elderly neighbors for standing up, because that's scary. And you're right. Thank you for acknowledging that standing up to people, even any time in your life, is really scary and it's a lot. But I want everyone out there to know that the people you're reaching out to want to work with you, they want to hear from you, and that's a huge part of helping alleviate the anxiety, is that no one's looking to judge you, they're looking to help you.
And not in a savior way, but you might be someone's hero.
Yes,
Someone might have been like, I'm so glad you knocked on my
Right.
door.
And that could be as
Right.
simple as you see somebody break down the side of the road and you sit with them till the tow truck comes. It doesn't even have to be anything
Absolutely.
complicated. And you don't even have to like make friends. You don't take an IG post about it. You just keep it moving. You stayed there until the truck came. You saw him get on the truck. You're good. Like, you know what I mean? There's a million little things you can do every day. And the big shout out to everybody here is they can't stop all of us. They can't arrest all of us. They can't harm all of us. And I understand you're adverse to harm, right? But especially to my white brothers, they put their hands on us. It exposes the whole fucking thing. That it's not even about whiteness. It's about
Money.
power and capital. And that's what we need to expose. We need to expose about power and capital. Once they put their hands on us, the white men. So unfortunately, some of us are going to have to be harmed. But I want to remind everybody that's either afraid there have been people standing up and putting their bodies on the line this whole time. There's
Oh
a
yeah.
long history in the United States that has been suppressed, going back to the coal miners, going back to, but there's, we could get on union historians and they could talk. All that's just
Oh
suppressed. It's
sure.
there, and it's happening now. It was happening 6 months ago. It was happening a day ago, and it's there, and it's not that scary, but it is scary. I get it.
Yeah, and I think it's scary if you've never done it. So that's why I feel like calling
Absolutely.
in your random neighbors who may have not had any, like, peeps, not everybody is into organizing or into meeting or community things. And I think isolation is something that's prevalent too.
And coalitions, everything's a coalition. Like the whole
Yeah.
family doesn't have to go to the tenants meeting, the
Right.
representative of the family, just for like
Right.
you use nuclear family as like a baseline that we can all understand, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe that the dad goes to the PTA meeting, for example, or the mom goes to the PTA meeting,
Right.
that,
And
and then
we
they
tell
report back
people
home.
like,
It doesn't, we can all spider out. Actually, that's better, decentralizing and
mhm,
relying on personal connections to get correct information and be able to trust one another as opposed to, jumping in a hierarchical thing, a giant pyramid. It's better this way that we organize, neighbor to neighbor. And
yeah.
not everybody has to watch city council. Not everybody has to go and that's
No.
why fund local media so they can go do that.
Yes. Although city council can get
Oh,
spicy.
that's fun. No,
Oh,
Joanna
I
I've
and
been
I,
at
love
some
Joanna
it.
and I,
councils where we
we
were
have
walking out
history.
after some crazy stuff happened. We were like, we're just here to say our part. And then like everything broke open. And I remember one night walking out of city council with some neighbors, and I was like, not this campaign, a prior one. And I was like, you guys remember when a wild night out was clubbing?
I
And now
know.
it's city council
No,
on a Wednesday.
we joke at our house that if you pay attention, every city council meeting has the potential to be a Simpsons or a Parks and Rec episode. Every episode, you might just have somebody in there saying some wild stuff, and some things that are great that get exposed. Like we found
Exactly.
out about a lot of things we wouldn't have found out about, like especially with Captain Reyes and Hoyle. Shout out to that cover up, because people came through and like, hey, I saw this on the court docket. I just thought it should be. Oh, everybody should be aware that there is a sergeant in the police that's being sued by a fellow coworker. Nobody was going to tell us. It required people going to public comment. So you
Yeah,
can do that too,
and it's
but not
happening all
everybody has to do
over.
that. You can trust, like everybody's got a nosy aunt or somebody that likes paying attention to that.
We
You can
need to
get
be more
information from
nosy.
that. Yeah, well,
Yes,
yeah.
we do. I'm such a big be nosy with your tax dollars, be nosy with your government. They're there to help you, and they're supposed to be public servants.
And
So
gossip is a good thing. I don't think gossip's a dirty word.
exactly, share
Yeah.
information with each other. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I've said this before too.
Lying and
And I'd
gossip
like to
aren't.
know. I just for the people out there, as someone who's had a disability that prevented me from being in public at one time recently, what can people who can't leave do? Like we all play a role, like you said. So
Yeah.
if I couldn't come to a meeting and I wasn't in your town, can I still help? What can I do?
Yeah, well, one thing is like, and I agree, and I think with organizing, I still think we haven't done a good job in regards to the differently abled and the disabled community, right?
It's
In
hard. It's really
like
hard to include everyone. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
and I'm not even gonna say like finding a role for them, but like being like having them take the lead in organizing, right?
Right.
What I would say is get in touch with us via email, because we have needs. um like at the moment, like we want to start a social media campaign, and we're all at capacity. Could someone help us with that? Maybe like someone who's really artistic or creative. We could really use help with like graphics, or a lot of us in Northampton, they tend to skew younger. In Northampton, we're like millennial up, so like it's a bunch of techosauruses where we're like, you want to do a Google sheet? Does it have to be a Google? Oh, I guess, Jesus, like we have neighbors who don't have computers and they don't have text. And so, like, with some of those neighbors, after our town meeting, I knock on their door and I sit for 20 minutes on their couch and we recap.
Okay.
Or I have their permission to leave a little note in their mailbox, recap. You know what I mean? And like, some people are amazing at networking. Like
Yes.
they can sit in one place and they can do things that like, a bunch of us, it would take us like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or we wouldn't even think of certain avenues. And so we would like if people want to get involved, like tell us who you are tell us what you're interested in, tell us what your capacity is, and like, let's see if we can't cook something up.
What's the email address?
Oh,
yeah,
it's
we'll share that too. We'll share it in the notes, but please say
for
it.
sure.
Yeah.
But oh, Joanna, you said something and it made me, I was just like, that,
Oh,
yeah, I
okay.
forgot what it was. But yeah, not everybody, like, and I think we, our idea of activism and organization in America has been like largely destroyed. You had the Panthers, you had the Weather Underground, you had the union movement, you had, this and that and that. And so, like, there's an amazing gentleman I follow. He's 82. He's a former Panther, former Black BLA member, Black Liberation Army, political prisoner for 20 years, Daruba bin Wahad. And he, where he can, because he's an elder, he travels around, he tries to talk to the young, and one of his things is, you kids are fighting for things we already won. Like in his generation, they fought to get the military off campuses. Now ROTC is back. Things like this. And it's because with the crackdown on these groups, their lineage, basically what he would say, like, our birthright to resistance has been veiled from us. And so people tend to think like, oh, you're organizing, you're resisting. Oh, that means Bastille Day. And I don't want to get like shot by a cannon. It's like, no, 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 no. Like, we had a moment 2 weeks ago at a tenants meeting. One of our neighbors who's coming out of retirement, she's a grandma. And we were like, okay, so-and-so, you can do this. Can you call this person? Action item, action item. And she just kind of sat there and she was like, well, I could go to city council for public speak and say something. We were like, what? And then she was like, I mean, I could, I've only gone once before, and that was 17 years ago for a soccer thing, but I could go. And then a neighbor across from her was like, so-and-so, if you want, I'll go with you. Like, I don't want to speak, but I'll sit there. We can sit next to each other. I'll root you on while you speak. And it's just these like tiny, people are taking these steps, and it's like, no, you're not the one with the bullhorn. No, you're not like a freaking cartoon like me that's got my mug like out in the public and I'm, scream talking and this and that. But we need you. Like, if liberation is for everybody, then the fight for liberation has a place for everybody, right? And so it's like, I tell my neighbors, I'm like, could you, for like, let's say homework, could you knock on 3 neighbors' doors and say hi? And like, here, you can give them a tenants' rights thing. So like, it's always nice to give someone something, like they leave with something. Could you bring a buddy? Could you, like, whatever? And now we're able to get to a point where we're like, okay, we need to talk about teams to go out to some of the places that we haven't been before and see how folks are doing. Are there more evictions we don't know about? Are people's leases expiring and they're like, I don't know what I'm going to do. We can catch them and say, hey, if you don't want to pay that lease, it's risky. Or if you do want to pay that lease and join us, because we have people who they sign those leases under coercion, let's face it. Right. And then there's people who their leases aren't up until next year. And there's people, and leases are ending soon. The people whose leases aren't up until next year are some of the most vocal, because they're like, hey, even though you're going through this now, I know it's coming for me. So I'm trying to be proactive. And then for the people who already signed those leases, what we told them was, when we get that sustainable rent back, you're getting a sustainable lease. We're not going anywhere without you, right? So even if you signed those leases and you're paying that money now, you're right.
You're in. Yeah,
you're
solidarity.
In. Like if like, let's say like our landlord tries to be like, okay, so for you guys, I'll negotiate the rent. Everybody who signed their lease until this point, that's the lease. We're not leaving the table. That's not how this goes, And you can build that, and I just think people would be shocked at how you'll be received by folks as well. And like, we also talked in the meeting, like, we're gonna mess up. We're figuring out how to do this together. And so let's just give ourselves that grace. Like, we're going to fuck up. Okay. We're going to get things wrong. Okay. We're, going to forget that. And so as long as we're accountable to ourselves and each other, and we're kind to ourselves and each other, this is going to be fine. Right. This is how we figure this out. And I get to be with 12 and growing of the coolest freaking people every week who I got to meet 1, 2, 3 months ago. I didn't know them until then, you know.
And just a side note here for if Matt or any straight white male is listening that fancies himself a landlord, when you heard the word coercion, I just want to translate it as the resident white boy. You call it leverage. People with empathy and souls call it coercion. You're holding housing over people's heads in exchange for the money they earn in the limited and never returnable hours that they spent laboring for that money to pay your fucking bills. And I'm pretty sure, especially if you're a Christian, Jesus Christ wouldn't be down with any of this shit if he existed. And that can be another challenge for another day. But yeah, I just want everybody to know that coercion sounds like a scary word because it is. And for the white guys, they call it leverage. I don't know. I was a butcher. I called leverage something like, oh, I can push this to get this to
Right.
make the meat fall apart without doing much work. That's my idea of leverage. Maybe a fulcrum. I don't know. The simple tools.
Torque.
Yeah. Fork.
Torque.
A cork. There you go.
Torque. TORQU.
Yeah,
Torque.
yeah. And anyways, so I just want to say that I appreciate all this you're doing, you and everybody in your community, because again, the whole emphasis here is you do it together, and not everybody has all the skills, and it's okay to be overwhelmed and scared. Like I've tried organizing in multiple factions, and it hasn't always worked out, and that's okay too. Like some things run their course, but right now, y'all have a common goal. And that's don't worry about the other stuff. Just worry about getting this common goal, simple tasks. You can do it, and reach out to your neighbors. So I appreciate you saying that so much more eloquent with real life, tangible stories. And again, really sorry that you're going through this at all. Nobody should be going through this.
Nobody should be going through this. No, especially when we can have a conversation, and to your point about like abolition and prisons and things like that and crime, some horrible things do happen. But how much would not happen if you took desperation away from people?
Absolutely.
If people were not desperate, and if people, you know what I mean? Like when that feeling of like when you're like, I'm okay. Woo! Like, you know what I mean? Like just that, like I can afford, like, I paid my stuff. I got this little thing left over. I'm sitting, like those few moments that we've had where it's like, like it's, I don't even know. I'm sure there's a word in German for it, right? And it's like, or something, but just this kind of like, I'm going to be okay. I'm peace. And then, oh my God, imagine having options.
Right.
When people have options and when they have good feelings about their future, and they have hopes, and they're excited about things. I tell people, if you could afford a mortgage working at McDonald's, you wouldn't have crime.
Exactly. I always say the fact that it's radical, that I think giving people and having their basic needs be met as like something we try, since we've never tried it before. I just don't know how that's radical at all. Like those are like, how could, like, we have so many research studies, as someone who has a background in this, like, please,
It did.
everyone, go out and look. Like, we've tried other ways. Like, please try making sure people have their basic needs met, and let's see what happens then. That we've
It
never
didn't
really tried
work.
that.
It didn't work in all those places we intervened in, Joanna.
But we've never done that,
Like,
and I just
no, no,
feel
no.
like that's too bad.
Listen, it didn't work because there was always a capitalist outside the borders finding their way in to
Well,
assassinate people.
and I do think people, I think back to our beginning point, I think people are afraid of each other, and I just always put that out there. Like, we don't need to be afraid of each other. Like you're saying, Mona, like, terrible things do happen. And in the 90s in Pittsfield, we were scared of one fucking scary, terrible man. But the rest of us were not scary, terrible people. And there are more good people. There are more of us than there are of those terrible, scary things. And I think we need to embrace each other and not be afraid of one another. The people to be afraid of are the people with the money, the guns, and the power. That's it.
It's the people with the pen.
Well, yeah. I
The
mean,
people signing the documents and signing the papers. So this landlord, whether he
he's
wants
someone to
to
be afraid
accept
of.
it or not, he is signing somebody's fucking death warrant when
Yeah.
he evicts somebody or he raises their rent. And that's the reality. Like, what's the other option? I'd be homeless. How long do
It's
you last in the
horrible.
streets, especially if you're 80 years old? You're fucking,
Yeah,
you're dead meat. What happens to an old dog that doesn't have a home anymore? They fucking die. Like, that's, what are we talking
We
about?
know that veterans make up 40% of the homeless population. I go into stores and I'm seeing people in their 70s and 80s working. It makes me want to cry. Like, I was
same.
just at a store and this like older man was like stocking some kind of heavier stuff. And he turned around and he was like, "Well, hello there. Are you finding everything?" I like was just trying to hold it together. I was like, "No, I'm finding everything fine, sir. Thank you so much." You know what I mean? Just like, shouldn't you
I
just be
do.
like somewhere do like with your grandchildren, like, watching a baseball, like just doing whatever you want to do because you freaking earned it? Oh my God, right? And so people
Right.
will speak out of two sides of their mouth. We're like, how we treat veterans, is just horrible, and they gave their service and that and that. And it was like, yeah, well, veterans are being like working with my neighbor who's a veteran, who's an advocate. That new veterans home they built, there's a 5 to 10 year waiting list
Oh my God.
for that, right? They're falling through the cracks. And like, I was talking actually to someone who is a landlord recently, and he was like, "Oh, the veterans, the veterans." And I was like, "Yeah, well, veterans are having I know a veteran who got his rent raised $551. That's how they're ending up homeless. They're falling through the cracks like that." And then this guy, very interestingly, went like, "Well, there are some people who take advantage of the system." And I was like, "There's the capitalist."
Yep.
The minute I said, "Oh, landlords, if you have all this money and it's really about buying houses for community, then it's not about profit, right?" And so the minute I go, "Yeah, well, housing prices and what rents are being charged have a huge role to play with veterans and other marginalized folks or other communities like ending up on the street." And then it's like, well, some people take advantage of it. And I was like, I saw that. Um, and as Kwame Ture said, the late, great, brilliant, if you want to end poverty, give poor people money.
Yes.
And I'm so sick
Yes.
of this living wage.
No, give
I
us
want
a
a
raise.
thriving wage.
Yes, thank
I don't
you.
want a
So that I
job.
can
I want a
save.
career. And Spencer, to your point, I also have a degree. And when I am picking bugs out of my eyes and mulch out of my teeth as a landscaper and I've talked to clients like, "Oh, geopolitically, I find this interesting." Whatever. They're like, "Oh my God, she spoke smart. Harry, come here. I think this one went to school. Harry, come, look." You know what I mean? It's like,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
it's
I went
bad.
to school. I graduated honors. I'm smart as hell. And you know what? I can't find meaningful, gainful employment. So I'm here putting in your dahlias. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because I have to subsidize my first job with this job in order to make ends meet. Yes, I'm goddamn smart. Actually, and I used to run landscaping crews, the majority of mostly guys that I worked with were really smart, good guys. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? And we would show up, and some of the people, not all, but some of the people that we showed up with just thought that they were vermin,
Oh yeah.
just thought they were idiots. You know what I mean? And this and that because we work with our hands. And it
Oh
was
yeah,
just,
when I worked in the restaurant, people would literally talk to me like I was so stupid
Slow.
and like
Like, it's slow.
really well, like just
Well,
like
you don't
mean.
understand. You're not
They
going
would
to have a
just
mortgage. So you don't have to worry
yes.
about it.
And then I would say, "I'm working on my master's degree at the new school," and they would become
Oh my God.
angels. "You live in New York City?
Oh my
You're
God.
smart." And I would literally be mean to them after that. Like, ew,
good.
ew.
No,
Because I don't want you
I,
to be mean. I like think that's such a disgusting way. Like, even if people would ask me, like, how are people ask Angel wouldn't mind. People ask Angel sometimes, "How are you bartending?" And she wondered to me out loud, like, and I'm like, "Dude, like, say something back to those people. Like, you think you can get behind here and do this in one night?" First of all, bartending's hard as shit. And second of all, it's not a job to look down on if you're sitting at my bar. Like, so I just think there's a perception of what the work that we do matters to. Like, thank you for putting in dahlias. Angel also does landscaping. Like, I think flowers are beautiful, and I agree with you. My brothers do landscaping too. Like, there are jobs. My father was a contractor, and like all of us have people in their lives that were laborers. Like, we should not be looking at any job differently, but each job should be getting paid so that we can thrive. And those labor jobs that are very intensive, people like to complain about what they're paid, but I don't know what to tell you if you're not willing to do the work either.
so they, at my job, they asked me, and I've been with the same company for a while, and we have a good relationship, as good as it can be without labor organizing, but individually it's good. Me to the management. But I bluntly said to him one time at Christmas dinner, I just said, he said something about, what can we do to get you like, want to grow with the company? I was like, nothing. And he was like, what do you mean? He's like, but you have all this. And I was like, well, I learned my lesson about trying to motivate people on an hourly wage. You can't do it. And you just end up being a monster because I have somebody to answer to as management that's demanding results from me. And then I'm stuck in the middle of either being a monster or being walked on and doing all the work myself to make up for it. And the reality is, if you wanted to hire me to do something else higher up, you'd have to change your whole business model. I don't think your investors would like it. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, oh, that means everybody that works under me, and likely everybody who works in this company, would get a cut of the profits. And I'm not even being greedy. I'm not even saying all. I'm not even saying a socialist
No.
or I'm saying, but you'd need to have profit sharing, or else you never get my brain. You're never getting my knowledge beyond lifting things up and putting things down. Because I know the second my back goes, you're gonna forget who the fuck I am, and I
Yeah,
don't care.
that's
And I
not
said this
great
to,
to
and
me.
he was
Yeah,
just like
that's
thought it was
more
like
that should be
funny.
the way it is.
He thought
Yeah,
it
it's
was
awful.
funny, and then a couple weeks later, I'm out front waiting for like a truck to come in, so I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. I just was playing a waiting game, and I was smoking a cigarette with one of the office people. And he was like, "Oh, those things will kill you." I was like, "Bro, I'm never gonna retire. What are you fucking talking about?" And then
So,
he just like was just like does not know how to deal with me, and it's really funny. And I just was like, "Yeah, I don't need health insurance from you guys. My wife has a stable job, and I also have another job where I make it's not it's like kind of like you, like I moonlight. I'm a butcher still. Like I still
So
my
many of us are hybrids. We have to be a
I
hybrid.
right.
know.
I
That's the
still
only
have that
thing.
skill. That skill's not going anywhere, but I don't have it in my body to work in either in a slaughterhouse or in a retail setting, standing on my feet 12 hours a day. I don't have it. I can't do it anymore. I mentally can't do it. Maybe physically, but I just like I'm over it, burned out, but I can still do this thing. So I can get a side gig, you know.
Yeah, I
And
just
then
think
when
I
they're like,
hope
"Hey,
we
can you do more for us here?" It's like,
yes,
is
never.
does the pay rate change? Because the pay rate changes, and I'm good. I got everything I need right now.
I just don't
And what
want
are you gonna
any
do?
us of
Threaten to
any
like
of us
cut
to
my
have
health
to work
insurance or
12
fire me?
hours. Like we don't need to work 12 hours. That's very
I've,
nice.
in high season, I work almost 80 hours.
Oh, I'm sure. I just
It's
am
like
at the point where I'm like,
70 easy hour. And like people are like 80, is that? It's like, yeah, you wake
yeah,
up at 6 or you get there for 6. You don't come home till like 10 or 11. You know what I mean? Because also with gardening, like, oh, well, if you do that, can you organize my shed? Can you do that? Well, if you can have a light on and it's dark and I need the money, you do it.
well, and if it's summer, you want to start at 6 a.m. anyway because it'll be
Absolutely.
horrible by the time noon
Absolutely.
hits.
And and that like with, as an immigrant myself, like this whole thing with like what's happening with migrants, it's, these people will speak out of two sides of their mouth where it's like, well, these people have to go and if you're, this or that and you're not, and as someone who went through the naturalization process, I love it when people are like, well, there's a, if they went through the right way for immigration, I was like, what is it? I went through I did the right way. Like I know what it I what so what's the name of the forms? How do you start? Who do you talk to? Who do you contact? What do you have to what's the criteria? They don't know. I
No.
left a landscaping job at a company. I work for myself now because my crew were entirely newly immigrated. One of the finest crews I ever had. They were all siblings too. Like these dudes were the best, right? And I was asking one of them, I was like, so you're gonna go to the Christmas party? I was like on my way home, and he was like, Christmas party? What Christmas party? And I was like, next Tuesday, the Christmas party. Silly, like the whatever, whatever. And he was like, we don't know about any Christmas party. So I asked another coworker who's white and born in America, whatever. And I was like, what's up with the Christmas party? So and so doesn't know about that. And they were like, oh yeah, the boss only told some of us. And I was like, why? And they were like, the boss doesn't want to share a table with people learning English. I'm out. I've never looked back.
I don't
I've
blame you.
never looked back. Yeah. And it's just, it's the same mentality for,
Yes.
treating housing like it's for profit. Like people, it's not, this isn't caviar. This isn't designer bags. This is a roof over our heads, right? Like, and to just think that, you know, you can flush people out if they don't do what you want, as opposed to like, God damn, my costs are going up, but I don't know these people. Yeah, they're my tenants. You know what? I got to call a meeting because we got to figure this out. We would really respect that. Like, you want
Totally.
to open your books, but you could be like, here's what I'm looking at.
Right.
Here's what I got. Here's what I need. Let's work together. Let's you know, figure this out. All right, everybody. You know, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. Sure.
Like
That's reasonable, at least.
when
Very
like
reasonable.
at any job I've worked at, looking back on it now, I wish I had the gumption at previous jobs. They say it's not in the budget. I want to be like, show us your books.
Show us the books.
Show us your fucking books. Oh, it's a
What's
private
your
company. We don't have
payroll?
to do that. Let's show us your
Yeah.
books. Where's the
Yeah.
money going? If you don't have money, I know I see that we're turning tables. Where's the fucking money? I wish we did that. There was younger me with a lot more balls, or not even a lot more balls, but a lot more over leveraged sweat equity wise, where I also was angry. I wish I knew what to say and who to talk to as coworkers, because now I'm like, I got myself situated in a way where it's like, all right, everything's stable. I'm not dealing with anybody totally fucking me. The system's fucking me. You know, they can't
Oh,
give me
yeah.
a raise literally because I'll break the system. They'll be like, we already pay you at max without making you whatever. And it's like, we can't do that because we sit in the Seaport district and all our competition slash the people we work together are all in this facility. So if you get fired or anybody gets fired, you can go next door, but everybody knows each other's business. It's totally suppressed. It's totally coordinated, and they rely totally, not my company, think allegedly, on illegal labor. The seafood business is a lot of cash. I don't think that's what's happening at my company. We're doing a lot of like with like casinos and stuff, so you can't really be funny with your money because it's all regulated. So once you start doing business with casinos, I don't think you can get funny. But like all these smaller seafood companies and like the fishermen and stuff, they're exploiting labor. And when a DH whatever ICE shows up to these facilities, well, how come nobody's doing anything about the employers? The employers are the ones exploiting the labor. That's the crime. It's legal slavery.
The employers are going to make sure that ICE has job security. They're going to bring in more folks who are
Yeah.
undocumented or who are desperate, or right, and then ICE is going to show up again. One
Yeah.
hand washes the other.
It's
Yeah.
the same thing that happens when your car gets towed. They make you pay in cash, and then nobody can tell you where that money actually went. But you have a receipt, kind of. But it's not with the parking department. It's not with the police department. It's with this private company on their private lot. But like the police department ordered us to move it. This is and it's not just East Hampton, Northampton that does that. That's New York
Oh,
City,
no,
like
this
the
is
New York City
everywhere.
tow yard. Like this corruption is everywhere, and it's because we have a system built on capital, and it's really gross. Because the only way you can get ahead if you're not going to be a capitalist is to participate in the auxiliary shady parts of the system, like becoming a cop, explicitly becoming a cop, or when you become a cop, then also skim by working in the parking tow yard and then skimming there and fucking selling people's cars and confiscating drugs and reselling it. Like that shit is old as police have existed.
That's tale as old as time. Don't get me
Right.
singing
It doesn't even matter.
freaking
It's like
Disney movie songs right
people bring
now.
up Karen Reed. It's like
However,
how many black people got fucking framed worse than Karen Reed did this year, let alone like who gives
yeah,
a shit about Karen Reed? I mean, I do, I care, but like at the same time, it's like, God, this is what they do. This is what they do, man. It's a money making machine. Court
yeah,
fees.
I think that's why though these coalitions of like community. That's why the podcast has been going on, and that's why me like talking with Mona today is so important. Like
Yep.
we have to build these coalitions. I know it seems hopeless, and the union organizing that I did when I first started working at a job with like a union really did open my eyes to we knew how things were. But I couldn't believe when like administrations will say to people, and now it's landlords, it's every facet of I think our local communities, and then it spreads outward to the state and the federal government in terms of where the power and the money is coming from. But people love to say, I can't do this, or there's no money in the budget. And
Right.
so I think we need to start asking more like, what is the budget? Where's the money that we have? And I know I recently had a Facebook fight with two older people in my town. It wasn't a fight, it was a nice discussion. I like them both very much. If they hear this, I like you both, Mark and Hillary. But they don't think that looking into our like local money really matters because it only shows like crumbs. And I fully disagree. I feel that at every level, as someone who works in compliance, even just in research, that we should not fear each other, but we shouldn't not have oversight with each other either, and not in a police way, but in an accountability way. We can't hold ourselves fully accountable, and that's why we build these coalitions. And like you can tell me if I have a blind spot, or I can maybe talk to someone else about something I know that they don't know. And I think it's not about saying anyone's doing anything wrong necessarily. It's okay, things aren't working right now and we need to get in there and figure out how to make it work, like you said. So sit down with us and let's talk about this. And I think at every level, like private and local government, I think we need to be doing it all around, because it's not going to just be, like you said, this one incident. And it's not. It's all over. It's happening and popping up everywhere.
It's a culture of abuse. And to your point, like when a teacher asks their student to like show their work, does the teacher think the student is dumb? No. When a parent tells their kid like, hey, what you did was wrong and here's why, does that mean the parent hates their child? No, it means the parent loves their child, right? Like it means the teacher cares about their student. It's like, so that's okay in that realm. But when we go, hey, we want transparency at every level of our community, that's being wrong. That's being weird. How is that possible? Like my neighbors and I are like, where's our weed money?
Real.
Where's the weed money? You know what I mean?
There's
In
so
East
much
Hampton,
money. Exactly. That's
we
one
have
thing in Western Mass and all.
Didn't the cops get a Tesla?
They did.
Well, no. So last year they did a really cool program in East Hampton called the Municipal Academy, where every Thursday for 2 hours for 8 weeks you got to sit down with a different department in the town for free.
Oh, cool.
And you learned about what they do, what they don't do, how they get their money, how they da 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 da. The fire and what I came away with was how whether it's elder services, whether it's Parks and Rec, whether it's DPW, how each department has to expend so much energy on grants and to put to get in line 10 years down the road for funding that might come up. And when we went to see the fire department, they pointed out this pickup truck that we thought it was like maybe 5-6 years old. It was in like beautiful condition, right? And the chief was like, that pickup truck is a 1989 Ford. We were like, what? And he was like, we are finally, after like 12 years, we put in for this 12 years ago, we are finally getting a new support vehicle for the fire department, a new pickup truck. We have a team of mechanics who have lovingly, like blood, sweat, and tears, kept this pickup going since 1989. Like we need a support vehicle sometimes to like equipment, car accidents. He's like over 20% of East Hampton is over the age of 60. 80% of those people want to age in place. And they're like, our call volume the last 5 years is up 30%. It's only going to go more. And we're riding around in 30-year-old vehicles because the money. And then the DPW guy was like, he was like, could I ask you all something before you go home? It's been so nice to meet you. And we were like, yeah, sure. What? And he was like, if you could just tell your loved ones and your neighbors and your friends, please don't yell at us. Like we would love to spend all our days paving the roads and making everything beautiful. We would love that. We live here too, but we have to wait for them. I'm not sitting on a pile of asphalt like a villain laughing as everybody's cars get wrecked. And he was like, we have to wait like a decade until our line is up, and we have to make sure we're in that line. Or if we're not there or we don't meet certain compliance when our name is up, they skip us and it's another 10 years. And he was like, so please, like, we would love to take care of the roads, but we have to wait to do that. So if you could just tell people, because he's like, I think people just call and think that we're nasty and we just want like the town to be blighted by bad roadways. We were like, yep, we could do that. So now for your listeners, please don't call your DPW.
No, and this
call
is
them, just be like, hey, for what you guys have to work with, thank you. Like that would be really.
Did the police sit down with you?
You know what's interesting? The police did, and the day that that meeting happened, I fell down a hill with my wheelbarrow, having to cart, like basically brush, like on this hillside, and it was like Jack and Jill shit. I literally fell down. I didn't break my crown, but I got mangled, so I couldn't make that meeting, and I was ripped about it. I literally was like mummified, like on my couch.
I'm sure, but I'm pretty positive, just as someone who all of the towns know as someone who dives into their police budgets, all of them get new cars almost every 2 years. And
They do, although the biggest segment of Easthampton's budget is actually the school.
yeah, that makes sense. I would hope our school would be. Ours usually is too.
School.
Most towns, like I would say most towns in cities in Western Mass, the school and the police are the biggest budgets. The school makes sense to me. The police, not so much apparently. Like, I mean, like let's if I use Pittsfield, I just have to use this one example. I just have to give this example. I use it for my Pittsfield friends all the time. If the police made you more safe, Pittsfield would be the safest place in the world based on how many people. There are at least 20 cops in Pittsfield that make over $200,000, and they said they need more money and training. It's all on like it's all
200,000.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's or more.
No.
That's like 30 people. You can look it up. It's like all public record.
In Boston,
they're strangling the economy. They're just strangling the community.
The top paid employee in Boston was over $500,000.
He was the highest paid cop in the whole world.
Not anybody important, by the way. Not even like a chief.
Nope.
Nobody important. Just a guy that gamed the system.
So I don't hate police, but I do think our system is completely broken. And I can't say like I hate all police because I don't want people to not hear my thing is I hate the systems, and I hate that we think we are not safe, and that pumping money into a system that is not keeping us safe doesn't, like, it's the definition of insanity to continue to do the same thing over and over and not find better results.
It's a definition of abuse, I think.
Well, I agree, but I'm just saying, like, legally it's insanity. And I think, like, overall, it's just for my point, it's a little nuts, I think, for communities to not see how, instead of potentially giving, and I've talked about this before, like a union, every other union in the city, especially even the school union, will be told you have to wait, but the police associations will just get what they want.
And there's a great show, Saturdays with Renee, on YouTube. They do a lot of talking about like police and policing. And one thing that someone said was, police don't solve crime; they respond to it.
Right.
Right. Like, that 911 call happens either after, like at minimum, someone is scared, and so harm has already been done or something has already happened. They respond to it. And then afterward they can figure out what happened, but they don't prevent it. And so if we're talking about crime prevention, that's community.
Right.
That's needs being met. That's people being held up and nurtured and nourished, and not in this like corny, like, no, you want to coddle people. No, I don't want people turned into, like traumatized, I don't even know, like traumatized, just like reacting human beings, right? Like you want someone who has like the best vision for themselves and their lives, and they feel safe and they're not acting out of desperation, or they've only had horrible behaviors modeled to them. So like, that's the only road they're going to go down. Right. That's where the prevention comes in. But when it comes to stuff like this, there's not enough money. What do you want to raise our taxes? What do you want people? Everyone has a therapist. What do you want to do? Whatever. It's like, a roof over people's heads and food.
And if they need therapy, if they need therapy, give them therapy. What are we talking about?
If someone was walking around with a gunshot wound, we'd be like, oh my God, are you okay? Let me get you help, my guy, right? But we see people who are homeless or people who have like mental health like issues, and it's just like, oh, that's too bad. Well, that person is also injured.
Right.
That person is also in need, but we've conditioned ourselves to kind of just be like, because as social apes, we want to help each other, right? And I think that's why, like, when you go to cities, people have that like very cold, just like tough veneer. Someone said something, I don't know who it was, where we have to like emotionally decapitate ourselves in order to face poverty every day, in order to face homelessness, and in order to push that humanity away from us. Because actually, as the social apes that we are, when we see someone in peril, we want to help them, we want to solve that, but we can't. Maybe you can give someone money, but that doesn't solve, like, they're going to need like levels of help in order to be okay. And some people will never recover from their wounds, but they deserve a secure, dignified, safe place to live, clean clothes, food. They deserve, options, and they deserve to live the best life that they can, even though they won't like, oh, now I want to go to law school. No, they still deserve that humanity, right? But so yeah, like there's all this shit, and it's, you start talking to people about it, and people can't handle that, so they start going to these places of like, well, what, I mean, what do you want? You just want to give people handouts? You just want to?
Yeah.
Well, if it works for Jeff Bezos, yeah, give me a handout.
Yeah. Why?
Why can't
Yes.
I get bailed out
Like
when
it's
I actually pay my taxes? What? Yeah.
It's like say what you will about I have critiques of the new New York City mayor.
I do too.
But
Another time.
like food not being sold with an exorbitant profit attached to it is just the moral just thing to do. And I'm in the food for profit business myself, and I find it absolutely depraved. And I've told my bosses this. It's kind of weird we answer to investors when we're providing food, and like also the questionable maybe we're not exploiting labor, but we work with other businesses that exploit labor. What are we doing? Like, what's going on here? You can't say, like, we have to, like you're saying, you have to emotionally decapit yourself to participate in this. Look, we're talking about food, and you're talking about units and product. No, it's food.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's that simple,
It's
man.
heartbeats, not head counts.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Like,
Anyways, so before we go, what's that
you're
email
muted,
address
Joanna.
the email address for you?
Oh, yeah. So it's easthampton tenants union at gmail.com. And I'm just gonna make sure I got everything that I'm just gonna, because
Yeah, so
because I
please
did
give
I
us a
did
call
hand out
back.
something recently, and I put the wrong, I wrote the email wrong. So Easthampton. Easthampton Tenants Union at gmail.com. Yeah, please. And we're I think we're gonna have our 6th meeting. And so also, we're just rolling this out. This is the first leg in our campaign. We're hoping that Mr. Gall comes to the table and talks to us. Like, we would love to have him. We'd love to do that. But this is the first step, and it's calling the community in. And we're trying to like spin several plates, which is, we have tenants who are really far along in their campaigns regarding their landlords. They're at the negotiating table. They're at the last rungs of that negotiation. And then we have us with addressing what Pine Valley Realty is doing, which is we're launching this. And then we also have folks like who are just coming in and going, we need information and resources. Something is going on, like, or, we need help. And so we're trying to like launch campaigns and also build this townwide, hopefully like tenants union. And so everyone is welcome to email us to get involved, ask questions. If you need resources, we can do that too.
And as always, anybody listening to the show, if you have any questions, follow-ups, feel free to reach out to us at theweedout@gmail.com. And we're very grateful that you came on, Mona.
This was amazing. Thank you so much. And like I messaged you, Spencer, and it was like light speed that you both set this up for me. Thank you so much.
So a peek behind the production curtain at the Weed Out. Like, this isn't like we believe in local journalism. We don't necessarily consider ourselves that. We consider ourselves just like a general platform. We would like to bring on more dedicated journalists in general. Like we in the past we've had on a few local journalists. We've focused on local organizing a lot. So a lot of union organizers. Tenant union as well. So this fits right in, and we really just want to give y'all a platform. And like, so when the bat signal goes up, we try to jump into. We're not in every week trying to make content. That's not. This is supposed to be like a community bulletin board in a way. like, but because not everybody does the Facebooks, not everybody does this, not everybody likes YouTube, not everybody. Some people just they drive a lot, they want to listen to something, and they're sick of listening to the same corporate podcasts with the same shitty ads. We don't do ads, we don't because we're not trying to make money. Whatever costs come out of Joanna and I's pocket, it's not a lot, but if anybody wanted to be a generous benefactor that gets nothing in return other than knowing that they helped pay the website bills, that'd be cool. You're always more welcome. But again, that's not what we're trying to do here. We really want just like a different version of community bulletin board. Plus, like, I have personally learned that I'm kind of insufferable, especially at family events and or like close where things should be, we should be able to be honest, and supposedly we have loved ones in common. And my wife basically said one day, you're just really intense about it. I was like, we should just, if I'm getting intense, I just like, just go listen to the podcast. And it's not just me ranting. There's other people there sharing, you can hear from somebody that doesn't look like me,
Mm-hmm.
per se, or look like, or maybe you need to hear me yell at you. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. Like everybody's different, but yeah, we try to be a platform. And I think Joanna's having some microphone tech difficulties, but I hope I'm not speaking for you, Joanna. Have you tried just using the computer mic, Joanna? Like unplugging yours and just going straight to the onboard mic? But while I vamp for time, basically we are trying just to do something different. Blogs, Substacks exist, and some people just want to listen to people rant. And unfortunately, these problems. So the goal is, you're a gardener, so the weed out. A lot of people think it's about marijuana. It's sure it's a. I like to smoke weed, but it's about weeding out the bullshit. And everybody's garden's got the same pollinators, got the same maggots, got the same good things, bad things. Once we realize, like, the same budget crisis that's happening in Pittsfield and where the money is going and how the shady deals get done, you look at Holyoke, it's like identical. Yeah. And it makes you feel less crazy. So connecting those dots, being a Berkshire Western Mass thing. So I appreciate greatly that you came on to share their story. And again, anybody listening or talk in your community, if they have something like this is about labor organizing, it's about anything, a mutual aid. We love mutual aid people, direct action folks, anybody like that, especially Free Palestine, Free Sudan, Free Congo, and anybody like that, anybody listening, you're more than happy. We're more than happy to at least get you in contact with somebody else that may be able to help you. We have a network here. We know journalists, yada, yada, yada. We can always try our best to help. It's a community building thing. So we appreciate you reaching out,
And don't be afraid to do so.
Oh yeah, of course.
For your viewers who maybe like haven't been involved yet or would like to get involved, like it's a process, and you can, everyone who swims in the pool had to dip their toe in at some point, So I would just, and we're gonna have to build our own power to protect each other and I don't know, like construct what we deserve as a society.
Mm-hmm.
So no time like the present.
And imagination's a good thing. Joanna, how's your mic situation? Are you back on?
I think she said she can't hear and her mic's not working.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Joanna. Anyways, I for the rest of the audience, I want to just say thank you for tuning into the Weed Out. We're gonna go on pause. I can always edit this. I don't know why I'm trying to.
And I may be able to talk now.
Yes.
Hey.
Thank goodness.
I was like, what is happening? I think my headphones lost power and then it just went a rut.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
settings on the it's all good. Anyways, what we were basically saying, Joanna, is we're a platform. We'd like to get people engaged, and I was thanking Mona for reaching out to us because we're not necessarily in the content making game. We're just trying to just be here. Otherwise, what are you gonna do? Contact Mass Live, and then they're gonna be like, well, that doesn't sell ad space. It's like,
yeah.
This has to be down for the record at the very least. There has to be a record of what happened in this community, and if we all break apart and the universe carries us in different directions, the world needs to know what these ghouls are fucking doing to us, you know.
Are we still recording?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was just gone, so I was being careful what I say, everyone. I completely agree wholeheartedly. And I think content wise, like we for a while we're doing like weekly shout outs about local government and local things people can get into, and then some stuff happened all over the world, everyone. And I think for me personally, it became a lot harder to make weekly content. But when there are these times, if anyone in the community, you do not have to be our dear friend Mona Shadi. You could be someone we don't know. Like Mona said, we just want you to reach out to us or to Mona or to anyone that you know working in a place where they're organizing, because they want to talk to you. We want to hear from you, and we want to uplift your voice to maybe make changes that we can all work on together. We don't always have to be having the same fight that we're working on, but in the end they intersect, and that part's the part that gives me so much hope.
Yeah,
absolutely. So we're gonna keep tabs, obviously, Mona, whenever you got anything on the internets that needs to be shared. So there was a shout out or a call to action. You need help with social media and or graphic stuff. So anybody in the audience in the Easthampton, Northampton area that is interested in bringing those skills to the community, you can reach out to Mona and Easthampton Tenants Union at gmail.com. And if any of that's too much, you can always check the show notes, or you can email me at theweedout at gmail.com, theweedout at gmail.com. And as always, we're always weeding out the bullshit. Thank you so much, Mona, for coming on. Joanna,
thank you.
Do you have any passing words you would like to say before we sign off?
Everybody,
go
ahead, Mona.
No, you go.
Okay, I just want everyone to know, as we go into the holiday season with all of these heavy things over our heads, that we try to do what Mona said and remember that we're together and there is a community and we have each other and we're not alone. And it's also valid to be afraid and be scared and to share that with your community too.
And Mona, final thoughts.
As someone who hasn't been evicted before, I have to say, while it's scary, it would be 1,000 times more scary if I didn't have everybody around me that I have, and I didn't have the resources, and I didn't have the know-how of how this works, and you know what I mean? So what I would tell people is, you probably live around some really rad people, and you should get to know them. And there's so much wrong in the world, and it is absolutely bleak and it is scary. But just to go back to like Joanna, when we were kids, and what we learned as children, like we are invincible if if we're together.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good place to sign off, and we're stronger together. And I guess one final note to Matthew, the landlord Matt. I don't know who you are. I'm a first time caller. And I just want to say, man, like, make good choices, make good choices. That's all we can do in this world. Make good choices. And that's where I'll leave it. So everybody, thank you for tuning into The Weed Out. You can always find us at www.theweedout.com and or the social medias. And always great to talk to y'all, and we'll see you soon.
Take care, everybody.